Second take. Welcome to chemistry. I'm a little frustrated because it's been taking a lot longer to record this than I expected to. So this is Mrs. April Rains actually introducing you to your chemistry class. So who am I? I was born in Michigan. I've lived in Missouri for many, many years before I moved to Kentucky. I graduated from the University of Missouri St. Louis in 1993 with a bachelor's in chemistry and a bachelor's in education. I recently graduated from Indiana University Southeast in 2016 with a master's in education. I've been teaching for 22 years. I have 9 years of experience from Missouri, I have 2 years from Michigan, and I have 11 years in the state of Kentucky, 5 as a Panther, a proud Panther. My goal is to be a super teacher. I had to hide myself for a second. I want to be the best teacher I can be. So I picked super teacher because I think that's what it all encompasses. So who are my most valuable people? Who are the people in my life that have been the most influential and the most valuable to me? My parents definitely have been the most influential. There's my mother, there's my father right next to me. They're at my wedding. And I love them dearly. They've given me more than I can even possibly understand. My son, who adopted me when he was one of my students and has called me mom since the day he said, "I need a mom and you're it." My niece, who I mothered most of her life, and her newest little baby, precious little boy Sterling. My ladybug, my Sydney, my wonderful daughter, who I've spoken about so highly of. Our oldest daughter, Devin, who is just wonderful. Her smile is infectious when you want. And not least is my husband, who I adore completely. My family is probably the most important piece of my life, and beyond my job, I spend more time with them and to them and from them and through them than I could possibly even imagine. I do what I do because I love them. So what do? Well, I teach chemistry. And going over your syllabus, I just want to tell you about a few materials that you're going to need. You've already been able to read the list. A textbook will be provided to you, but it will be used in class only. But you will need a 3-ring binder. That binder should be a 2.5 to 3 inch binder. You also need to buy loose leaf paper because I will not even grade papers that have those ratty edges that you rip out of the spiral binders. So you either have to cut or tear off the ratty edges before you turn it in, or you have to get a spiral binder. So that's how that goes. So 2.5 to 3 inch should be good enough for you to fit everything in. You're going to need a composition book, and as I told you, some of you today, you are going to be using those on Monday. So you can either go purchase one. It's got to be graph ruled. It cannot be lined. It has to be graph ruled or quad ruled. Or you can bring $2 on Monday, and I will let you purchase one from me. You just pay me $2 and you'll have a lab notebook. So you can choose to do it either way. You're going to need a scientific calculator. Now, graphing calculators are scientific. However, you do not have to spend $90 to $120 on a graphing calculator for this class. All I need you to have is a scientific calculator. You can get one of those. I think at Walmart you can get one for $8. Staples, I've seen them for about $9, $10. Usually you don't have to spend more than $10 to get a really, really decent scientific calculator. It must be able to do exponents, or what I mean by times 10 to the. We'll explain that a little bit further. But a graphing calculator is a scientific calculator, but not what I'm talking about. It will function as one. So if you have one, you're good. If you don't have one, don't tell your parents you need to buy a graphing calculator. You need a pen or a pencil. I would bring more than one with you so that if something happens to one, you have a spare. So make sure you have both pens and pencils and you can do what you need to do. The $10 lab fee, you've already paid for, so you don't have to worry about the lab fee in the least. Flash drive, have access to Google Drive or Dropbox or have a flash drive so that if you're doing some work at school, you can save it to that, and then you can do some work at home so that you can transfer things back and forth. That's why a flash drive is on the list. That's the only reason. So if you have access to Google Drive or Dropbox, you should be okay. So we need to respect. I need you to be here being respectful to yourselves, to me, to each other, to the materials, all the gamut. I need you to be on time. On time means that you come to class, you sit in your seat before the bell rings, and you begin your work. Some of you are coming from very far away, so I understand if you're rushing in, the bell rings, and you're coming from far away, but you're trying. I get that. I will know who you are. But those of you that like to hang out on the hallway and talk and chat, that's not going to be okay. So please make sure you're here on time. Also, there is no food and drink in the classroom. You're not going to be able to bring it in. I don't want Polar Pops. I don't want sodas. I don't want Gatorades. I don't want bug juice, Kool-Aid. You can bring in a bottle of water only, because if water spills, my floor doesn't get sticky. If a Polar Pop spills, my floor gets sticky. And I don't like that very much. So no Polar Pops. Also no horseplay in the lab, but we are going to deal with that when we talk about lab safety in the next week. So I'm going to be talking to your parents and you. I'm going to have calendars that everybody can look at. I'm going to be giving you progress reports every 3 weeks that can even earn you extra credit. I'm going to be making phone calls home when I need to for good things, for bad things, whatever. So you just make sure that you're doing what you need to do, okay? And then you let me take care of the rest of that. Open house. Open house is September 27th. You can tell your parents that, and parent-teacher conference days are October 4th. So those are days that your parents can come and speak to me if they need to. They can also call me or email me at any time. Email is usually better because I can reach anybody through email all the time. So how are grades assessed? It's pretty simple. You're assessed according on a 10-point scale. That's the new scale for JCPS. But I don't fudge grades. So what you get what you earn. So you need to make sure that you're doing what you need to do. The grading scale is pretty simple. An A is 90 to 100. A B is 89 to 90, or 80 to 89, I'm sorry. A C is 70 to 79. A D is 60 to 69. And a U is anything below 60%. If you're making below that, that's not okay. As a matter of fact, I want everybody, I challenge you all to make a 70% or better. That's my challenge to you. Homework and quizzes. Homework is going to be worth 25% of your final grade. Quizzes kind of get grouped into tests, but I do not accept late homework for any reason at all. 80 to 90% of your homework is graded for whether or not you've completed it. So if you do your homework, you get the credit. There are very few times when that doesn't happen. Quizzes can sometimes be unannounced, but we usually have a quiz every Friday unless we've had a test on a Wednesday or Thursday, and that would be the only time we didn't have a quiz on a Friday. Sorry about the phone. Lab notebooks. Every time you turn in a lab notebook, for each lab you turn it in, you're going to be given 12 points per assessment. The lab notebooks are going to be checked bi-weekly. I do them in rounds. In other words, I collect a quarter on one day, a quarter on Tuesday, a quarter on Wednesday, and finally the last quarter on Thursday. And in doing so, that allows me to get them graded and only have a quarter of them at a time. It allows for people to do that. I also rotate that. So project managers will turn them in one day, materials managers will turn them in another day. You'll get to understand what all of that means more on Monday. Lab reports, you'll be doing at minimum, 1 to 2 this year. And you'll be given all that information at about the time that you're supposed to be doing that. So don't panic about that. You'll have a rubric, so you'll know exactly what you need to do. And if you write well and you do what you're supposed to do, you should be okay. Test and free response. Free response is only the AP word for open response questions, or ORQs. Tests and quizzes will always be announced. So you shouldn't have any trouble with that. I'm going to turn off my face here for a second. So when you have a test, I usually give you a week ahead to know that you have a test. If it's on the calendar, you kind of know when it's coming. So you shouldn't have an excuse to not study and not get something taken care of. You have 1 week if you're absent to return and take that test from when you return. So 1 week from when you return to take that test. If you do not do that, the test automatically reverts to a 0 and you will not be able to make it up. So it's really important that you do that. Okay, and unfortunately, I have a class during intervention time, so I won't necessarily be able to do all of that with you all of the time. If I need to make an exception, you need to come and talk to me so that I can get that taken care of. Okay, your chemistry binder. Your chemistry binder is probably the piece that you know least about, but a chemistry binder is basically that 2 or 2.5 to 3 inch binder that you're going to use to help organize yourself. I think the biggest problem that most sophomores have is organization, and you really don't know how to organize yourself. So you need to learn how to organize yourself. And you're going to do that using a chemistry binder. It allows you to collect everything that you've done for the entire year, all your homework, all your labs, all your tests and quizzes. Everything will be in that binder. So when you go to study for the final exam, you don't have to ask, so what's on the test? You're going to know what's on the test because it's comprehensive. You're going to have everything you need in that binder to study. So you shouldn't have any problems figuring out what to do. That's why you're going to keep a binder. Binder checks are going to occur on test days. So again, because you know when the tests are, you know when binder checks are. I won't accept late binders for any reason. You should know that a binder check is coming up because there's a test coming. You should know that your binder needs to be together so you can easily find things. Because when I do binder checks, you're not going to know what I'm looking for. I'm going to give you a slip of paper on the day of the test. I'm going to give you a certain amount of time to pull those papers from your binder, staple it to that half sheet, and turn it in. If you can't find them in the time frame, then you don't get the points for the binder check, or you don't get the points for that particular object on the binder check. So you need to make sure that you're following through with the binder and doing what you need to do so that you can get your points for binder check. So you need 6 tabs for your binder. I do realize that tabs come in packages of 5 or packages of 8. The 8 ones get extremely expensive. So this is my suggestion. Buy a package of 5. Then find a file folder that you can make into a 6th tab. Or you can use construction paper. I do not want you to use plain paper because it doesn't have enough stability and you can't tell where one ends and one begins. But file folders work really, really well for that. You need the following titles on your dividers: references, warm-ups, notes, homework/classwork, labs, tests/quizzes. It should be obvious what goes under each reference tab, because the references are going to be things like your syllabus and your safety contract that you're going to have a copy of, your periodic table when you get it. Warm-ups, exactly what it says. All those warm-up sheets that you have and that you're doing, they're going to go into your binder under warm-ups. Notes, when you go home and you watch a video and you take notes, those are the notes that you're going to be putting in. You're going to write your notes down on loose leaf paper, you're going to put them in there. Homework, classwork, exactly what it is. If it's not a lab and it's not a test or quiz, it goes under homework, classwork. Anything that's a lab, the paper that describes what you're supposed to be doing or gives you suggestions. If it is a lab report, anything that it has to do with your lab goes under labs. And tests and quizzes, that's pretty obvious. If you've taken a test or quiz, you'll get that back after it's graded. You need to put it in your binder there. So that is all there. Makeup work. Late work is not accepted. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to take late work. If you're absent, there's a whole different issue. If you're here and you just choose not to turn it in, you're going to take the hit. So don't turn your work in late. I know that Mr. Pritchard also did that. Okay, so if you're having trouble, for some reason you're having trouble, come see me. Don't wait till the last minute, because if you wait till the last minute, we can't figure out what to do for you. If you come and see me ahead of time, then we can make a plan and figure things out. I don't like surprises, okay? Absence procedures, turning in assignments. If you had an assignment that was due the day you were absent, it's due when you get back and you need to turn it in. If you get assignments on that day, then you have 1 day for every day you're absent plus 1 to turn any of that in. If it doesn't get turned in, it becomes late work, and the late work policy comes to pass. Okay, there is a place to get assignments in the classroom. It's the homework crate. It's over by the calendar that I showed you today. It's the yellow crate. It's very organized by period and by day of the week. So if you miss Tuesday, you go under Tuesday, so you go past Tuesday, and all the papers that you need should be in there. You can also get stuff on Blackboard as well. Okay, if you need extra help, all you have to do is ask me. Don't interrupt my class because you didn't get something you needed. Don't do that. Come after school, come before school, come and see me before class, but don't interrupt class and the learning of others because you didn't do what you needed to do. I hope this has informed you a little bit more and given you more information.